Okay, so this is the part of our member meeting where we're going to share the topic, and the topic is food storage. So just checking in the chat who has started their food storage, who has not started, where you're up to, and doesn't matter where you are at. Now is a good time to look at it. If you are seasoned at your food storage, hopefully you'll get something out of tonight. Maybe you can share what you do with others at the end. So I'm just going to share my screen. Things to consider in food storage. So this is just going right back to basics. So thinking about your space. Where are you going to store your food? And how much space do you have? So depending on how much space you have might already tell you how much food you can store, whether it be just your pantry because you live in an apartment and you've just got a pantry, or whether you've got a massive garage and you've got space there, or a loft, or a downstairs. Just having a look at your own space. How much space do you have? Now, in thinking about your space, some spaces are better than others. And we'll get into why some spaces are better than others in a moment. But thinking about what are you going to store your food in? The kind of containers that you use will be super important because you want to keep out air, you want to keep out rodents and light and heat or cold or pests. So, oh my goodness, so cute. So thinking about your storage containers. So you might put your food into glass. You might seal them up in Mylar bags. You might seal those Mylar bags into plastic buckets, as you can barely see in the photo there, and all those storage containers will then need to be labelled clearly. So how much do you need? Well, how much you need depends on your family size, depends on your space, and also, I guess, how much you eat and how much you want to eat. So we suggest when you start your food storage journey that you shop for a little bit more than your regular weekly shop. Look for those things that are on special. Grab a few more cans, grab a few more packets, whatever it is, and just add to your storage bit by bit, so that you're not trying to break the budget at any point. You're just adding a little bit to your weekly shop as you go. So how does the climate affect your storage? If you are living in Northern Australia, then of course the heat is going to be a factor, versus if you're living in Victoria or Tasmania. You might even use the outdoors as part of your storage. You could bury food underground in some of the year and use underground storage. So thinking about rotating your food. So as my ideal storage, I'm purchasing items for my pantry. I'm bringing the items that I want to eat and in order of when I bought them. So bringing them forward, and my new purchases go to the back so that I'm rotating. Of course, there's food in my pantry that has been there for eons, and I think, well, if it's been there for this long and it's stored correctly, great, but it's probably not my favorite foods. So there's some tins of beans, particular kinds of jars of food that I think even if I'm starving hungry, am I actually going to eat that? I'm not. So it's probably just taking up more space than it's worth. So you want to actually store the food that your family will eat as the first protocol, and then also store food that stores well in over long term. Because if you comes to an MRE food storage situation, or then you might actually dig into those foods that you thought that you would never eat. There you go. Planning. Midterm plan using a meal planner can be useful. And as I said, prevent buying foods you may not use. So I bought some MRE foods. That they're the foods that you just need water, add water to expand, and they're dehydrated foods generally. It is a good idea to try those foods in a non-urgent time, and just to test out those foods as well. All right, so getting started. Write down what your family normally has for meals. Purchase items to prepare these meals. Focus on meals and shelf-stable foods that lend themselves to storage, such as rice, pasta, couscous, beans, legumes, flour, etc. These items should be rotated as part of your household consumption habits. Okay, so if you are a very big rice eater, then you want to store more rice. And so we'll get into how to store them in a moment. Purchase a few extra items each week. Mention that. Build additional supplies. Do not go into debt by overcommitting to storage goals. Look for grocery items on discounts and use that opportunity to stock up. Mentioned that before. Rotate this stock using the principles of first in, first out items on your shelf, so that you can orderly replenish your system. Rotate storage fuels for vehicles is important, because a lot of petrol only lasts apparently for 6 months, and so you need to rotate if you're storing fuel as well. Shelf life is a key calculation to long-term storage. Storing large quantities of these items will be a waste if they cannot be converted into foods you will consume. Turn it into a community event where bulk storage, buying, sharing skills, group bulk production, and nurturing relationships can be developed. So this is where our communities come in, and I want to challenge our hubs and hub leaders to plan a food storage event where you are buying in bulk and then packing your food as a group. So it's really fun when you can get together and you can do a miler food storage packing activity, where somebody brings the food in bulk, and then you've all got your allocations for what you're having, and then you're scooping and you're sealing, and someone brings the hot iron and someone's hot ironing and someone's labeling, and you then take home all of your food storage items. You're done, you've had a great chat, you've learnt from each other, you've got together. These are really great community events where you can utilize each other's skills and knowledge to get a lot done. You might decide to do a cooking day where you're, instead of buying something like rice, you're cooking up big batches of meals that then can be frozen or stored somehow. And so these can be another idea for how you're doing this in your communities. So get creative. Think about the skills that you have already within your group, and think about a location where you can go, maybe someone's house, maybe there's a community building where you can go, bring all the produce, bring all that, and then do a bulk storage day. How does that sound, guys? You'd be excited to do that with your group.
Sounds awesome, Kelly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
What it's all about. Okay. Okay, so here's just some ideas of things that you can store. dried beans, white rice, not brown rice. Apparently there's too much oils in a brown rice to long-term storage, so you have to go the white rice. Steel cut oats, canned veggies, canned fruit, canned meat. Now, back in the day, we did a lot of canning workshops. So we learned how to can our own veggies, can our own fruit, can our own meat. So you don't have to go and purchase those things, because it's much better if you can water bath them and can them yourself. Powdered milk, baking ingredients, baking soda, sugar, shortening. Sugar and honey tend to be those things that last ages on a shelf anyway. White flour, salt, pepper, seasonings and spices, dried meats, pasta, noodles. Really, you're storing and packing those so that they are safe from bugs and weevils and mice. Tomato sauce, peanut butter, jams and jellies, instant potatoes, honey, granola, stock cubes, coffee and tea, and condiments. So there's just some ideas of things that you could do long storage. And then also, let's add to that your fermented goods. And that's what Candace will teach us in her fermentation classes, things like fermented mayonnaise, your own ketchup and sauces and sauerkrauts, those sorts of things we're going to learn next week about how you can increase your nutrition while storing foods, not just foods that take up space, like Candace mentioned. So I think that's all that I had time for tonight to share on food storage tips. But that's my challenge for you, is to get together, and it might not be a large group. That's okay. It might be 2 people, it might be 3 people, but doing it together is so much more fun than doing it on your own. Last time we chatted, we actually talked about a challenge where I put it out there in your hubs, was to access eggs other than the supermarket eggs. So whether you are thinking about having your own chickens or sourcing somebody within the hub area who has chickens and supporting them, buying from them rather than buying from the shop. That's everyone's challenge, was to get more self-reliant in getting your eggs. So I'm going to stop share now and stop recording, and just putting out our challenge and get some feedback.